thread that runs through our opening hymn is that of gathering. Gathering as in coming together. Here at Michael Servetus Unitarian Society, we come together as a congregation to worship. We gather in small groups, in music, in teams, in committees, and in community service with our partner organizations and beyond. A chorus of life, resounding as one, because we know that the work of religious and ethical communities is done together. Last week, we talked about how one of the main tenets of Unitarian Universalism is relationality. Relationship to each other here and in circles that are broader in our lives, relationships to communities beyond MSUS, and relationship to the earth and to the creatures that live here. When we gather, whether it's in sympathy, thanks, celebration, or to agitate in order to bring awareness of injustices or to call out our dreams of a better world to our government and other citizens, we are in relationship. We are reminded of our interconnectedness. Religious communities like ours are critical to help maintain hope, compassion, and strength in a world that is beckoning us to feel and be otherwise. Our separate fires, the gifts we each possess and freely give, whether that is love and support or humor or comfort or something totally different, our single fires kindle one flame, the flame of love, community, and justice. Gather is also a word used to kind of describe bringing things together from scattered places or different sources. When we gather the Spirit, we are recognizing that our spirits need nurturing and care in order to be full and grounded human beings. We're beings that don't only have bodies and brains, but also emotions and a spirit that needs tending. When we are gathering, we gather ideas and inspiration, we learn, we grapple, and we grow together. This gathering of stories, ideas, and hopes helps move us through a world as a group of people with courageous love, mindful interconnection, and authentic curiosity. Gathering, either way you use it, is an active word. Our faith, our shared Unitarian Universalist history, it's not something that just grounds us as individuals. It calls us to go beyond ourselves. It calls us to be mindful of other people, places, and animals we love, and to be mindful of our fragile planet and the impact that we humans have upon it. Today's service is an opportunity to introduce an upcoming program called Gather the Spirit that Reverend Diana is going to start leading soon. And it's also a time for us to think about love and how it feeds stewardship. A description of Gather the Spirit includes these words: stewardship can take many forms: donating money to our congregations and to causes we care about, volunteering to teach or to lead or to physically maintain our congregations. I guess here it's mostly setting up and taking down. Helping to meet the needs of others and protecting our shared resources in local and global communities. We're in the month of February. The theme is love. And Diana and I thought love is the perfect container to hold this curriculum and and a time that we hope we can engage each other in the months to come.
The Gather the Spirit curriculum is an intentionally multi-generational curriculum with lots of great stories and hands-on activities, a service project we may engage in, and it explores the idea of stewardship primarily through the lens of how we steward the resource of water on our planet and in our communities. It has 8 segments that are each an hour long, but we're going to offer it in a different kind of way. I'm going to lead 2-hour segments of the curriculum in standalone sessions, so you can come to one or all of them. We're going to do one each in March, April, and May. If you're counting on your fingers, that only adds up to 6 of the 8 hours, and we will talk as a group about whether we want to also do one in June to get the full program in, but they are perfectly functional as standalone segments. And they are for people of all ages. I want to emphasize that, from little kids through our most seniors. So watch for dates and times to be announced soon. That will happen at Pilgrim House. Two of the many goals listed in the introduction to the program are to nurture stewardship of the earth and its resources as an expression of Unitarian Universalist faith and values, and to build multi-generational community. Now, after being here with you for a year and a half, I know that both of those goals are things that are important to this congregation. So it felt like the perfect fit for us, to me. I have taught it in other contexts as well, and I just thought we're ready for that here. The groups that I've led it with before have found the content meaningful, and they have also deeply appreciated the opportunity to connect across age groups in a setting other than worship or strictly social events. Those both obviously have deep value, but this is a third way for us to build multi-generational community. I want to be clear that when I say multi-generational, I don't just mean kids and the adults who are in their families. It's for all of us. I know that there is a strong desire here at MSUS for more opportunities for us to be together in multi-generational ways, as the youth in coming of age and their mentors are right now in the next room. And this is another way for us to do that. Now let's bring our focus back to today. This will be an interactive service with 4 central questions. Questions about our congregation, about taking care of each other, caring for others beyond our walls and our borders, and caring for our planet. As we gather here today, we hope you will feel free to share your reflections, whether in person or online. Before we move into the questions, Reverend Laura and I have a reading by a beloved author, Adrienne Maree Brown, that we've both been geeking out about. I just read this section, or actually reread this section of her book, Emergent Strategy, within the past week, and it so caught me that I took pictures of a couple of pages with my highlighting and asterisks and notes in the margins, and I sent those photos to Laura and said, maybe we should use these in Sunday's service. Laura responded that she had pulled out her copy of the book and had lots of underlining and asterisks on those pages herself. We invite you to sit back, close your eyes if you want to just hear the words enter you, and take in Adrienne Maree Brown's words.
My favorite life forms right now are dandelions and mushrooms, the resilience in these structures, which we think of as weeds and fungi. The incomprehensible scale, the clarity of identity excites me. I love to see the way that mushrooms can take substances we think of as toxic and process them as food, or that dandelions spread not only themselves, but their community structure, manifesting their essential qualities, which include healing and detoxifying the human body to proliferate and thrive in a new environment. The resilience of these life forms is that they evolve while maintaining core practices that ensure their survival. A mushroom is a toxic transformer. A dandelion is a community of healers waiting to spread. What are we as humans? What is our function in the universe? One thing I've observed, when we are engaged in acts of love, we humans are at our best and most resilient. The love in romance that makes us want to be better people, the love of children that makes us change our whole lives to meet their needs, the love of family that makes us drop everything to care for them, the love of community that makes us work tirelessly with broken hearts. Perhaps humans' core function is love. Love leads us to observe in a much deeper way than any other emotion. If love were the central practice of a new generation of organizers and spiritual leaders, it would have a massive impact on what was considered organizing. If the goal was to increase love rather than winning or dominating a constant opponent, I think we could actually imagine liberation from constant oppression. We would suddenly be seeing everything we do, everyone we meet, not through the eyes of tactical eyes of war, but through the eyes of love. We would see that there's no such thing as a blank canvas or an empty land or a new idea, but everywhere there is complex, ancient, fertile ground full of potential. We'd organize with the perspective that there is wisdom and experience and an amazing story in the communities we love. And instead of starting up new ideas and organizations all the time, we would stop. We'd listen, support, collaborate, merge, and grow through fusion, not competition. We'd understand that the strength of our movement is in the strength of our relationships, which could only be measured by their depth. Scaling up would mean going deeper, being more vulnerable, and more empathetic.
Brown continues, what does depth require from us, from me? In my longing for depth, I have been rerouting in the earth, in myself and creativity, in my community, in my spiritual practices, honing in on work that is not only meaningful, but feels joyful. Listening with less and less judgment to the ideas and efforts of others, having visions that are long-term. Another part of walking this path has been humility. Enough humility to learn, to be taught, to have teachers. The Sufi poet Hafiz said, "How do I listen to others? As if everyone were my teacher, speaking to me her cherished last words." Brown says, I am listening now with all of my senses, as if the whole universe might exist just to teach me more about love. I listen to strangers. I listen to random invitations. I listen to criticisms. I listen to my body. I listen to my creativity and to the artists who inspire me. I listen to elders. I listen to my dreams and the books I am reading. I notice that the more I pay attention, the more I see order, clear messages, patterns, and invitations in the small or seemingly random things that happen in my life. In all these ways, she concludes, I meditate on love. And so today, through that lens of love, we will ask questions and give you all a moment to sit with or meditate for a moment on your answers before sharing them. Some of these questions come from the Gather the Spirit curriculum, and others were inspired by it. We will begin each section with a short reading or a song and then move into reflection and sharing. So let's start with our beloved congregation. Pete Seeger, who most of you probably know was a Unitarian Universalist folk singer and activist, said, "There's a river of my people, and its flow is swift and strong." Imagine our congregation as a small but strong river that then joins up with the larger river of Unitarian Universalism, and then the even larger river or ocean of the whole of humanity. But let's come back and focus on our river, our congregation, for a moment. I invite you into a spirit of meditation and this invitation. In your imagination, drift away from this group, both those of us who are gathered physically in this room, those of us who are online, and those who are not part of today's gathering, but are part of our congregation. Observe us from a little bit of a distance. Reflect on our purpose, power, and commitment. Know that you are one of many who can and must make a positive difference by guiding the young, by nurturing the commitment of families, and by joining others of all ages in dedicated work. Feel the strength of the concept that service is our prayer. And then, with a fresh sense of renewal, come back into this place and this moment together. The question I offer for our sharing is, how has this congregation supported you to express your own gifts? And again, you can take a moment to reflect on that, and then when you're ready, we invite you to share, and we will do it the same way that we do Joys and Sorrows, with a microphone here in the room. Those of you online can either ask to be unmuted, or you can share via the chat, whichever you prefer. And I've got Sun on the screen, so I won't see if anybody raises their hands. So someone else will be in charge of that.
I'm not seeing any hands at this point online.
I see Jamie.
I'm Jamie. Well, I've been a Unitarian over 30 years. I belong to more than one church, but I really feel like what this church does well is use people's gifts and allow them to bloom. I hadn't sung in over 15 years when we started coming here and joined in 2005, I think. And so there were some croaky sounds coming out because I was in my 50s at that point. But it really brought me so much joy. And it is something, as you know, I share with the congregation, either as a soloist and certainly as a member of the choir, and other groups here too, like when we had Chalice Quartet. So I've continued to have an opportunity to sing, and that has just been so wonderful. And for singers, there's nothing like singing. And my friends at work told me that I was happier overall when I started singing.
As a singer, I can confirm that it is a gift, not only the gift of those of us who get to listen to the many talented musicians in the congregation, but a gift to the musicians to be able to share your gifts. So thank you for
Right.
naming that.
Yes. But I feel like the church has also given me the opportunity to use other skills as well through the committees I've been on, either in leadership positions or like the music team, and I'm on the leadership development committee. It's had other names. I was on it when it was nominations too, a long time ago. And I was asked to be on a very special kind of short-term task force when I hadn't been here that long, and Covenant Group. And I get to use some of my leadership skills and my need to be a nurturer by co-leading Covenant Group with Lori Young, and that really helped me bloom and grow and develop my sense of spirituality, which I knew there was something somewhere, but I was not in touch with it. So lots of things.
Thank you, Jamie.
So the biggest thing that the church has done for me is that it provides a weekly check for my emotions, and it allows me to hear from others who may be struggling as I am. And I feel that I'm in a safe place to share, and that my mom and I have found a community that is always moving forward, always looking for change. We miss our little white church a lot, the building itself, but have realized how important just being together and trying to throw a pebble into the madness of the world.
Thank you. Do we have anybody online? No. Okay.
I see Janice has her hand up. Janice, go ahead.
Janice, I see we have Linda Sue, is Janice?
Yep, sorry, can you not hear me?
Yes.
Can you?
Oh, no,
Okay.
no,
Yep. Janice, go ahead, Janice.
I'm Janice, she, her, and the church has given me a lot of support. Um, Particularly when Jerry was diagnosed with his brain tumors back in 2003. Um, when we had to move. People turned out to help us make a move from a house to our townhouse in probably less than 2 hours. And it was just a wonderful experience for that. But in addition, my particular interests are with technology. And I've been allowed to be involved with the church website almost from the beginning of being here in the 1990s, early 2000s. And I've also been on a number of committees and teams and task force that have allowed me to come out of my shell, because a lot of the things that I tend to do tend to be just me. And that's been really, really helpful.
Marty?
Yes, I'm Marty Sheeher, and all those things that Janice said are true for me too. My friends are all in this church. This is where I have my friends. I hardly know anybody else from any place else. I had friends when I was working, but now I've been retired for
Yeah.
many years, and so my friends are here, and I love this for that. I love all of you.
Yeah. Thank you, Marty. I love that you guys not only kind of shared your gifts, but shared what gifts you were able to share, but what impact it had on you. I think it just shows kind of the level of your ability to reflect. It was really lovely to hear. So we move on to the topic of caring for each other. Reverend William Metzer stated that the natural response to generally felt gratitude is generosity. It's a sentiment we've heard many times before, and not just during our pledge drive or church fundraisers. I returned recently from Hawaii, and I was just deeply struck by the aloha spirit there. There's like this sense of kindness and generosity that is alive there. And I can't say whether it comes from the recognition of the beauty that surrounds the people, or maybe the roots of the indigenous people who populate that island. Whatever it is, or a sense of interconnectedness. But what I know is I could tangibly feel it. And I want to keep that spirit alive in myself. Gratitude can come in waves, and those are wonderful moments. And sometimes gratitude just has to be cultivated like a mushroom that is a toxic transformer, or dandelions that are a community of healers waiting to spread. So our next meditation is about gratitude. So just take a moment to pause, to reflect on the ways your needs have been met well enough for you to grow to this point in your life. You've survived vulnerable times of your upbringing as a child. We've all survived times of illness and grief and healing as a result of someone's care. Think about how other animals in nature receive support in their life and grow, and how they give back to the system that supports them, just as we are doing in our congregation now. And appreciate yourself too. So the question is, can you share a story or a time in your life when you felt cared for or cared for someone or something else in this congregation or beyond, and how it opened your heart in a noticeable way? So a story or a time in your life when you felt you've been cared for, or you cared for someone else or something else in this congregation or beyond, and how it opened your heart in a noticeable way. Take a moment and think. Does anybody want to share? I see Norma. Oh, wait, here, I can hear you, but they can't hear you. Yeah.
I've wandered around this earth for a very long time.
Uh-huh.
Marty and I are in the same league.
Yeah.
But I'd gone to a lot of churches, and my parents never went to church. So finally, somehow I found my way to the little church. And who was the first person I talked to and sat and talked to but Reverend Laura.
Oh,
And that was it.
oh.
And I've been coming ever since.
And we're
except-
so happy to have, it's really lovely to have you as part of
Thank you.
this, yeah. Marilyn, right behind you.
So a dramatic moment for me was my husband was overseas with the military. I had retired from my job, and I ended up in the hospital, and then I ended up with a colostomy bag. And so then I ended up at my mother's house because I need someone to take care of me for a while, and I had other people taking care of the house and the family. But I also had a gaping wound, and healthcare came in. But my mother also had to do that, help me with, take care of this wound and everything. And I finally asked her, I said, so did you ever imagine, you know, because my mother's not one who likes the sight of blood or anything like that. And here's this gaping, horrible wound. And it touched me with a kindness. I knew my mother was a kind and caring person, but it just took it to that next level. And that's something that this church, I feel very strongly a part of.
There's something about a period of being that vulnerable, right? And then having that care provided.
Especially when the
is-
bag dropped off on her brand new floor.
Oh, God.
I thought I'm 50 years old and I'm still pooping on my.
Oh. Linda, is there anyone online?
Elizabeth, go ahead, Elizabeth.
Hi, Elizabeth here. One thing that I remember is, I've been coming with to this place on and off maybe 9-10 years now. But I very clearly remember a time, of course, it's 7-8 years ago, probably close to 8 years ago, that my younger son, who has autism, came with me, and it was so special to me because he was very shy at that time. He was very shy and very nervous, and came there, and I don't know if they'd remember, but Amy and Chad and Bruce and Marie came up and said hi to my son, and were so kind to him and so welcoming. And he felt so good. And I remember after leaving there, my heart just was overflowing with happiness that that people could be like so generous and so giving, but so soft and kind to a complete strange child who was just really, really scared. But my love just poured out, and I knew that like this group, well, no matter how often I came, was always going to be kind of the safe place for my family to be. Thank you.
Did somebody else back, Janice, did you have your hand up? Or did I imagine that? Okay. Oh, that was full enough for the heart. I'm gonna move over to the next. Thank you, Elizabeth.
Reciprocity, which we sometimes talk about as loving one's neighbor as oneself, is a central message of Unitarian Universalism's sources. We extend our understanding of neighbor to not literally just the person next to us, but to the wider communities to which we belong, including the global community of humankind. One way to participate in the interdependent web of existence is to express our own need to give love and care. However, we need to be thoughtful about what it means to offer love and care in a way that centers the other person, not us. Many of us know what's often called the golden rule. I bet we could probably all recite it. Treat others as we would want to be treated. But several years ago, I learned something that's called the platinum rule, treating others as they want to be treated, which means taking the time to discern the perspectives and the real needs of others rather than assuming that we know what is best for them or that they want the same things we want. We're not a very large group, and yet I'm pretty sure that we don't all want exactly the same thing. But it's so easy in our good intentions to get stuck on thinking that we have the perfect solution for somebody else. For example, another saying many of us know is, if you give a person a fish, you feed them for a day. If you teach them how to fish, you feed them for a lifetime, which sounds great. But recently I read something that pointed out the fact that you can actually feed a person and then teach them to fish. In fact, they'll probably be more receptive to learning how to fish if they're not starving, right? So it's not either or, help them now or help them become independent. So again, we could ask that person what they need rather than assuming, would you like a meal? Would you like to learn how to fish? How can I best support you? So from that, the question I offer is, when have you listened before helping to discern others' needs and perspectives? And how has that gone for you? Sure. When have you had an experience of listening before helping to discern the other person or group's needs or perspectives, and how has that gone? That's maybe a little trickier one. I see Laura's hand.
Why not?
Go for it.
Oh, that's nice. Then you can run this out and not be both. Kevin just volunteered to hand out the microphone because Chad's been trying to hand the microphone and then run and turn the volume up. So thank you, Kevin. I was thinking about back when Black Lives Matter kind of emerged in the Twin Cities, and a dear friend of mine, Lena, was part of, she's actually part of Black Lives UU, was part of that organizational structure of people. It was a very informal, scrappy structure of people. And I remember really wanting to do something, and we were learning at that point, like white people, you need not be in the center. You can really center people of color and let them sort of instruct us as to how we can help. And so when I talked to her, she said, the thing we could really use is we meet once a week and we need food. And so I and other people cooked full-on meals for this organizing crew and would drive them to this little place on University Avenue. I mean, it all felt a little surreal because we never saw the people we fed. And it wasn't like there was a big thank you loop, because I'll tell you, these guys were working hard. You know what I mean? They weren't taking time to write little thank you notes or anything. So it felt to me like just a good, humbling message that sometimes it's the behind the scene food cookers who never even get to be seen or see those who are doing the hard and holy work can make a difference.
Thanks, Laura. I think an important point in that is, so that we get thanked, we should maybe look at our internal motivation, right? Like, we as a culture, white people in particular, are used to being thanked. And that's not what it's really about. Jamie.
I'm Jamie, she, her, Aya. A covenant group that I co-lead uses a model of deep listening, where the original model of a covenant group, a pure kind of model, is that you do not respond when someone else is speaking. And there is an opportunity later to do a bit more of a dialogue. But that person just gets to have our attention in such a profound way. And so now I do have to own up that our current covenant group that has been together for a long time is not quite that strict.
That's a great model, though, Jamie. I've been trained in a similar process. I believe it's similar by a group called the Center for Courage and Renewal, and it talks about no fixing, no changing, no advice giving, that we're, like you said, giving people our deep attention, and that allows their inner teacher to arise, so they learn from their own wisdom rather than having advice thrown at them when that maybe wasn't what they came looking for. So thank you for lifting that up.